No negotiations in sight, Zelensky says, as Biden rules out fighter jets for Ukraine. KYIV, Ukraine on Friday marked 1 year since Russia launched its attack, ending decades of relative stability in Europe. The invasion was the hardest day of our modern history, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky said, pledging victory over Russia. In a news conference, he downplayed the possibility of near-term peace talks, saying Russian President Vladimir Putin is no longer the same person he once was. The United States and other allies rallied behind Ukraine, and the Biden administration announced some $10 billion in financial assistance, in addition to $2 billion in military aid. In an interview with ABC News on Friday, President Biden said he has ruled out for now sending F-16 fighter jets to Ukraine to help its forces fend off a Russian assault. Here's what to know. China is considering sending Russia lethal military aid in the form of artillery shells as Putin's army rapidly depletes its supply of ammunition a year into his invasion of Ukraine. U.S. officials said, a prospect that has alarmed those in the Biden administration who believe Beijing has the ability to transform the war's trajectory. Zelensky said Friday he plans to meet with Chinese leader Xi Jinping to discuss outstanding issues between their two countries. Kyiv is focused on ensuring that Beijing doesn't provide weapons to Moscow, he said, a possibility over which Western leaders have expressed concern in recent days. Ukrainian forces rebuffed Russia's early attempt to conquer Kyiv and have since recaptured a host of towns and cities. But a year in, Russia controls about a fifth of Ukraine's territory, including parts of the 4 regions Putin illegally annexed in 2022. Follow the 600-mile front line between Ukrainian and Russian forces. Over the last year, the war in Ukraine has morphed from a multi-front invasion that included Kyiv in the north to a conflict of attrition largely concentrated along a 600-mile stretch in the east and south. Ukrainian troops pushed the Russians back from Kyiv last spring. Russian President Vladimir Putin then shifted the focus of his military's fighting to what is now the front line, while still launching airstrikes across the country. Analysts note that Moscow's capabilities appear to be declining, though it now has more than 320,000 troops in Ukraine, according to Ukrainian and Western intelligence. Roughly double the number at the start of the invasion. The Russian military will be throwing poorly trained and potentially poorly equipped forces forward, said Max Bergman, director of the Europe, Russia, and Eurasia program at the Center for Strategic and International Studies. It is doubtful they will be able to conduct complex offensive maneuvers. Nevertheless, the war is poised to be punishing and bloody as it enters its second year. Likely hopes to severely degrade Ukraine's forces and break their will to continue, Bergman added. The GOP's Ukraine supporters begin to summon their voice. A noisy minority can be powerful in politics. And rarely has that been the case as much as with the GOP, post-Tea Party. But Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell had a message during a visit to Munich last week. A noisy GOP minority is still a minority. I think there's been way too much attention given to a very few people who seem not to be invested in Ukraine's success, he said. McConnell added that he would step up in making a case that he has long made, that the war is the most important worldwide priority. He added in a Fox News interview, "Don't look at Twitter. Look at people in power." He struck a similar tone in a statement Friday, saying that my fellow leading Republicans and I consider helping Ukraine's defense a direct investment in our own core national interests. McConnell has a point, but his argument misses a key fact. It's not just that his party's critics of funding Ukraine have been noisy. It's that unlike McConnell, Republican supporters have been quiet, largely allowing critics to dominate the public debate.
Thank you.